would like to express a big thank you to all my Patreon supporters who helped me to make this stuff possible. After a good night's sleep and a beautiful sunrise, we made our way towards the next destination. Dave spotted a very low-placed eagle's nest in one of the trees, so we stopped and had a look. We came across a huge claypan and we decided to go around the edges to not disturb the surface any more than absolutely required. Whenever possible, we tried to drive in single file. However, at certain spots it was so soggy and muddy that we needed to use different lines to make it through there. This was one of the very soft spots and Rich got himself thoroughly stuck here. Dave turned around, hooked the winch up, and together with 2 max tracks, Rich was free again after a fairly short time. Not too much later, we reached one of the river inlets where these inland rivers flow into Lake Eyre. It's not too often that you see these rivers flow and filling up Lake Eyre, and we were really lucky to see these.
It's Jared. He has a very heavy horn hand.
Happy about making it here. He's very excited.
That is loud. Jared! Take the hand of the horn! Take the hand of the horn!
Take the video there. You idiot! I couldn't do it. Just came on. Oh, that is so funny.
Oi.
Hey, beauty.
Oh,
Back for that.
I think that's a fine for disturbance of wildlife,
you're
mate.
right, mate. Oh. You're going to go down there and try and film stuff and they're all going to be gone.
We were wondering why the pelicans took off, mate.
Yeah, they can hear me.
We finally reached the Warburton River and it was an absolute spectacular sight to come across that much water in the middle of the desert. However, this was not to be our camp spot for the night. We headed a little bit further north up the Warburton River to find a better camp spot. We came across these badlands which were impossible to traverse, so we had to find a way around it. The drone perspective gives you a pretty good idea how deep these water runoff channels are and the extent of the badlands. Again, the video doesn't do justice how steep these dune descents are. The dune country is often broken up by these small claypans and you never really know how soft they are and how easy to traverse. The firmness of the ground can also change within seconds. You can start with a pretty firm ground, then 50 meters further you're all of a sudden start sinking. This is one of the many reasons why I do run mud terrain tires, especially for cross-country desert trips. Race 70 series with a stock tire size and no diff locks needed a bit more assistance than some of the other vehicles.
because I don't think we're going to be at camp.
It might be a little bit late again. Out of my control.
Yeah, we're still moving.
With all the recovery help Dave and Peter provided with the 200 series, unfortunately Peter's winch gear seems to have stripped and the winch stopped working. The river is absolutely stunning. What you can't hear is all the birds. You probably can't see either all the birds here. It's magnificent. Not many people would have been here. Yeah, that clay pans are soft.
That's the tree line heading up that way. That's the Warburton.
Ah. Yeah, that's just amazing. Very rare. They don't really have that often water. And being able to swim here in the desert, it's just fantastic. And I don't know whether you can hear that, but there's plenty of bird life. The Warburton River is a freshwater stream which feeds the Lake Eyre basin. There are 7 tributaries of the river: the Warburton Creek, the Macumba River, the Office Creek, Kalakupa Creek, Yelpa-Varalina Creek and the Derwent Creek. It is fairly rare for these rivers to flow and actually reach Lake Eyre and start filling Lake Eyre. These are one of the few rivers who flow inland instead of towards the coast. When the creeks flow, they transform these dry desert, and miraculously thousands and thousands of birds appear and occupy that waterways. This is as remote as it gets. 2 days cross-country travel to get here. There is no medical assistance, there is no recovery. You need to be 100% self-sufficient to get out here. It was interesting to see the tourist planes which start from William Creek and then fly over Lake Eyre, making a detour and having a look at us. I've guessed I hardly ever seen people in this area, and it was an interesting little attraction for their passengers. The sunrise in the morning was absolutely magnificent. As we intended to stay 2 nights at this beautiful place, we had some time. It was amazing to see all the bird life in the early morning. The pelicans, the birds of prey, just absolutely stunning. After it warmed up a bit, it was time for a swim for some of us. Dave's daughter Caitlin was game as, and she was the first in these absolutely freezing waters. I followed suit, but have to say it was a fairly brief swim and wash.
Get out, we go. Get that fire stone.
Ian and Ray did try to wet the line with a fishing rod and had the yabby pots out overnight, unfortunately without much success. We had plenty of time which we spent around the campfire as well as exploring our surroundings.
That's the bigger plane.
Yeah, it is.
We also had a few more flyovers by airplanes looking at us.
That's a bigger one, isn't it?
Yeah.
And Caitlin and Dave made a beautiful chocolate cake on the campfire. Bush Bakery here. Today radix, been mixing it up, cooking one day radix, and that works quite well. Today wild Alaskan salmon with tomato and basil. I like that. It's a good one. One of the things I really love in the desert is the often absolute stillness, and this was again one of the moments at sunset.
Can I use a cup?
Wow,
Apple pie, mate.
that looks delicious.
No, I babysat.
Custard. Thank you. Oh, take a little bit, yeah.
They went.
Thank you.
No, I baby.
Is that enough?
Yeah.
Dave really spoiled us with a beautiful apple pie and custard which we ate around the campfire.
Before we left the next morning, Peter decided to have an early morning swim.
It is freezing. Wow. I can't tell you how cold that is.
If I could fit it on the roof, I'd take it home.
Yeah?
It'd make a great bar in
The Shell of Australia Ltd.
Given that these old shell drums are very hard to come by nowadays, Dave and Richard decided to cut the top off and take it home as a souvenir. Going cross-country without tracks means you have no reference whether something is drivable or not. A lot of these dry riverbeds seem to be perfectly firm from the top, however often water runs under the surface and it can catch you out very easily. You can see here how Dave nearly gets caught out as it becomes all of a sudden very soft. As I mentioned before, these dry creekbed crossings can be treacherous. Often we have to drive along the creek for quite a while to find an area where we think we can cross with a reasonable amount of safety. The BFG KM3 mud-terrain tires served me very well on this trip. They work perfect on the muddy clay pans as well as in sand. The water creates some beautiful oases in the desert. This is very different driving to a normal, say, Simpson Desert crossing, where you drive in predefined tire tracks where the sand is compacted. These pristine dunes are very soft, nothing is compacted, and they are quite often very steep. Less travel with the leaf spring suspension and the smaller tire size caught quite a few of the guys with less modified vehicles out.
A bit more back!
Don't let off the pedal. If we can get across, I was going to take you that change the cliffs. All the cliffs up there. So just leave it there. She's right.
This terrain really took its toll on our tires with over 14 punctures and holes. We're trying to find a crossing for the Macumber River. It's all super soft. I nearly got stuck. Took me a lot of wiggling around to drive out there. This is one of the creek beds we needed to cross. However, it had a fair bit of water in and the ground was very soggy, wet and muddy. Yeah, the country is pretty harsh, that's for sure. That was nothing. Dave is already stuck. I guess it's a no then.
that bit is.
Shit. A bit higher up, Dave and Pete found a spot which they thought was doable.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. That's it.
It walked it okay, but with the weight of the vehicle it started sinking fairly quickly and you saw the water coming up.
Water coming up.
David, who coordinated and arranged the whole recovery, set up a quadruple winch recovery, which included Nathan, Michael, Richards and my vehicle, as well as 3 snatch blocks. These gave us sufficient power to pull the deeply bogged vehicle out. This shows quite nicely how much water is hidden below the dry surface. Yeah, now we're driving along the river here, probing it and trying to find something where we can cross without sinking our cars. Okay. A bit further upriver, Dave scouted a passage for us. While still a little soft, it didn't seem to have any water flowing under the surface. That crossing proved to have pretty firm ground, but even here, after multiple vehicles, you saw the water coming up from underneath. Jared thought he'd try a little different line, however, he got bogged only 2 meters into the creek bed. That's the pants and the shoes of a working man.
Yeah, or an idiot, one of the two. I fell over into the mud again.
Thanks a lot for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. As always, I would greatly appreciate if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the video and leave me a comment in the comment section. My YouTube channel is completely self-funded and it takes considerable effort, time and money to create these videos. If you'd like to support me in this, please consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon, where you can donate a small monthly contribution which will help me to cover some of the cost. For these, you will receive early access to all of my videos.